The myth of laziness. Have you ever called yourself lazy? Maybe you had important work to do but kept putting it off. Maybe you started a goal with excitement and then lost momentum after a few days. Or perhaps you looked at highly disciplined people and thought, they have something I don't. Many people believe laziness is a fixed personality trait. They assume some people are naturally hardworking, while others are naturally lazy. But this belief is often misleading. What we call laziness is usually not the real problem. In many cases, laziness is simply the visible result of something happening underneath the surface. Think about it. Most people are not lazy when it comes to things they truly enjoy. Someone who struggles to study for 30 minutes might spend hours playing games, watching videos, or talking about a hobby they love. The ability to take action exists. The challenge is directing that action toward meaningful goals. This suggests that laziness is often connected to other factors, such as lack of clarity, low energy, fear of failure, overwhelm, poor habits, or constant distractions. For example, when a task feels too big, your brain may avoid it because it seems stressful. When you fear making mistakes, procrastination can become a form of protection. When your environment is full of distractions, staying focused becomes much harder. Sometimes people are not lazy, they are overwhelmed, distracted, or uncertain. Another reason the myth of laziness is so harmful is that it creates a negative identity. When people repeatedly tell themselves, "I'm lazy," they begin to believe it. Over time, this label affects their confidence and expectations. Instead of looking for solutions, they start assuming that failure is simply part of who they are. But discipline does not begin with a different personality. It begins with a different understanding. Highly disciplined people are not always motivated. They are not always energetic. They are not always excited to do difficult work. The difference is that they have built systems and habits that help them take action even when they do not feel like it. Discipline is not about being born different. It is about learning different behaviors. This is encouraging because behaviors can be changed, habits can be improved, systems can be redesigned, and small actions can gradually create big transformations. The goal of this journey is not to become perfect overnight. It is to stop seeing yourself as a lazy person and start seeing yourself as someone capable of growth. Because once you understand that laziness is often a symptom rather than an identity, everything changes. You stop asking, "Why am I so lazy?" and you start asking a much better question. What is preventing me from taking action, and how can I fix it? That question is where real discipline begins. Understanding why you avoid action. Most people think the biggest obstacle to success is lack of effort, but often the real obstacle appears much earlier, the inability to start. You know what needs to be done. You understand the importance of the task. You may even want the results. Yet somehow you delay, avoid, or promise yourself that you will start later. This experience is so common that many people immediately label it as laziness. But before calling yourself lazy, it is important to ask a deeper question. Why are you avoiding action in the first place? Avoidance is usually a signal, not the root problem. One common reason is overwhelm. When a task feels too large or complicated, your brain sees it as a threat rather than an opportunity. Instead of moving forward, you postpone it because avoiding discomfort feels easier in the moment. For example, writing an entire report may feel intimidating. Starting a business may feel overwhelming. Getting in shape may seem impossible when you focus on the final goal instead of the next small step. The bigger the task appears, the easier it becomes to delay. Another hidden reason is fear. Many people avoid action because they fear failure, criticism, or disappointment. If you never fully try, you never have to face the possibility of falling short. While this may protect your emotions temporarily, it also prevents growth. Sometimes procrastination is not a time problem, it is a fear problem. There is also the issue of perfectionism. Some people wait for the perfect plan, the perfect mood, or the perfect moment before they begin, but perfection rarely arrives. As a result, they spend more time preparing than actually doing. The truth is that progress usually comes from imperfect action, not endless preparation. Another factor is the modern environment. Today, distractions are everywhere. Social media, notifications, videos, and endless entertainment offer immediate rewards. Compared to these quick sources of pleasure, meaningful work often feels slower and more demanding. Your brain naturally chooses what feels easier and more rewarding in the short term. The battle for discipline is often a battle between immediate comfort and long-term benefit. Low energy can also lead to avoidance. Lack of sleep, poor health habits, stress, and mental exhaustion make action feel much harder than it should. Sometimes the issue isn't motivation, it's simply fatigue. Understanding this helps you become more compassionate and more strategic. Instead of attacking yourself with criticism, you begin identifying the actual barriers standing in your way. The key lesson is simple. Action becomes easier when you understand what is causing your resistance. When you identify the fear, reduce the overwhelm, remove distractions, or restore your energy, you no longer have to fight yourself as much. Because the goal is not to force action through constant struggle. The goal is to understand why you're stuck, remove what is holding you back, and make the first step easier to take. And once that first step happens, momentum often follows. Motivation is temporary. Discipline lasts. Many people wait for motivation before they take action. They tell themselves, "I'll start when I feel inspired," or "I just need more motivation." For a while, this approach seems to work. A motivational video, a new goal, or a burst of excitement can create a powerful feeling of energy. Suddenly, everything feels possible. But then something happens. A few days later, the excitement fades. The goal is still there, but the motivation is gone. The work feels harder, the distractions become more attractive, and the progress begins to slow. This is why motivation alone is not enough. Motivation is an emotion. Discipline is a decision. Motivation comes and goes. It changes depending on your mood, energy level, environment, and circumstances. Some days you feel unstoppable. Other days you feel tired, distracted, or discouraged. If your actions depend entirely on motivation, your progress will rise and fall with your emotions. Discipline works differently. Discipline means doing what needs to be done, whether you feel like it or not. It means keeping a promise to yourself, even when excitement disappears. This does not mean disciplined people enjoy every task. It means they understand that results are created by consistency, not by temporary feelings. Successful people do not always have more motivation. They often have better habits. Think about brushing your teeth. Most people do not wake up every morning feeling highly motivated to brush their teeth. They do it because it has become a habit and part of their routine. Discipline works in a similar way. The goal is not to constantly force yourself through willpower. The goal is to create routines that make productive actions automatic. Another important truth is that action often creates motivation, not the other way around. Many people believe they must feel motivated before they start. In reality, starting is often what generates motivation. Once you begin working, momentum builds. Progress creates confidence, and confidence creates more motivation. The hardest part is often not the work itself, it is getting started. This is why disciplined people focus on taking the first step, even when they're not in the mood. They know that waiting for perfect feelings can lead to endless delays.
Discipline also creates freedom. At first, this sounds strange because discipline is often associated with rules and effort. But over time, discipline gives you control over your time, habits, and future. Instead of being controlled by moods, distractions, or impulses, you become guided by your priorities. That is a powerful form of freedom. In the end, motivation is useful. It can inspire you to begin a journey, but motivation is like a spark. It burns brightly for a short time. Discipline is different. It's the steady force that keeps you moving when the excitement disappears. And in the long run, the people who succeed are usually not the ones who felt motivated every day. They're the ones who learned how to keep going anyway.
Building small wins. When people decide to change their lives, they often make a common mistake. They try to change everything at once. They create huge goals, set unrealistic expectations, and expect immediate transformation. For a few days, they work hard and feel excited, but soon the pressure becomes overwhelming and they lose momentum. This is where small wins become powerful. Big success is usually built on small victories repeated consistently. A small win is any positive action that moves you forward, no matter how small it may seem. It could be reading a few pages of a book, exercising for 10 minutes, organizing your workspace, or completing one important task. At first, these actions may not appear significant, but their real value is not in the size of the action, it is in the momentum they create. Many people underestimate momentum. When you complete a small task, your brain receives evidence that progress is happening. You feel a sense of accomplishment. That feeling increases confidence and makes it easier to take the next step. Action creates momentum, and momentum makes future action easier. Imagine standing at the bottom of a large mountain. Looking at the entire climb can feel intimidating, but focusing on the next few steps feels manageable. Life works the same way. When goals feel too large, break them into smaller actions that you can complete today. Instead of focusing on writing an entire book, focus on writing one page. Instead of thinking about losing a large amount of weight, focus on today's workout. Instead of trying to master a skill immediately, focus on today's practice session. Small wins reduce resistance because they make progress feel achievable. Another benefit of small wins is that they strengthen self-belief. Every time you follow through on a commitment, you send yourself a message, "I am someone who takes action." Over time, these messages begin shaping your identity. Confidence is often built through evidence, not positive thinking. The more small promises you keep to yourself, the more trust you build in your own ability to follow through. Small wins are also important because they help you stay consistent during difficult periods. On days when energy is low, you may not be able to perform at your best, but you can usually do something small. And sometimes maintaining the habit matters more than the size of the effort. A short study session is better than skipping completely. A brief workout is better than none at all. A little progress keeps the habit alive. This approach prevents the cycle of starting and stopping that causes many people to lose momentum. The goal is not to impress yourself with massive effort once in a while. The goal is to create steady progress through actions you can repeat consistently. Because discipline is rarely built through dramatic changes. It is built through small wins that accumulate day after day until one day you realize those tiny actions have created a completely different version of your life. Creating habits that reduce resistance. One of the biggest reasons people struggle with discipline is that they rely too heavily on willpower. Every day becomes a battle. They force themselves to make the right decision again and again, hoping motivation will carry them through. But eventually, mental energy runs out and old behaviors return.
This is where habits become powerful. The easiest action is the one that has become automatic. A habit is a behavior that requires less thinking and less effort because it has been repeated many times. Instead of deciding whether to do something, you simply do it because it has become part of your routine. Think about tying your shoes or brushing your teeth. You probably don't spend much energy deciding whether to do these things. They happen almost automatically. The goal of discipline is to create more positive behaviors that work the same way. When a good habit becomes automatic, resistance decreases. Resistance is the mental friction you feel before starting something important. It's that inner voice that says, "I'll do it later," or "I don't feel like it right now." The more resistance a task creates, the more likely you are to avoid it. Discipline becomes easier when starting becomes easier. One way to reduce resistance is to make habits small and simple at the beginning. Many people fail because they try to build habits that are too difficult too quickly. They go from doing nothing to expecting perfection. Instead, focus on creating a habit that feels almost impossible to skip. If you want to read more, start with a few pages. If you want to exercise, start with a short workout. If you want to write, begin with a few minutes each day. Small habits may seem insignificant, but they create consistency, and consistency is what allows habits to grow stronger over time. Another effective strategy is linking habits to existing routines. For example, read after breakfast, exercise after work, plan tomorrow before going to bed. By attaching a new habit to something you already do, you reduce the need to remember or decide. The routine itself becomes the reminder. The best habits fit naturally into your daily life. Your environment also plays a major role. If good habits are difficult to access and bad habits are easy, resistance increases. For example, if your phone is always nearby while you're working, distraction becomes effortless. If your study materials are organized and visible, getting started becomes easier. Small environmental changes can remove obstacles before they appear. Most importantly, understand that habits are not built through perfection. There will be days when you feel tired, busy, or unmotivated. The goal is not to perform perfectly every day. The goal is to continue returning to the habit, because every repetition strengthens the behavior. Over time, what once felt difficult begins to feel normal, and that's the real power of habits. They reduce the need for constant self-control and make positive actions easier to repeat. Instead of fighting yourself every day, you create systems that work with you. And when resistance becomes smaller, discipline becomes much easier to maintain. Eliminating excuses. Everyone makes excuses. No matter how ambitious, intelligent, or disciplined a person is, there will always be moments when the mind looks for reasons to avoid discomfort. I'll start tomorrow. I'm too tired today. I don't have enough time. I'll do it when I feel ready. At first, these statements may sound reasonable, and sometimes there are genuine obstacles in life. But many excuses are not actual barriers. They are mental escape routes that protect us from effort, uncertainty, or discomfort. An excuse may make you feel better today, but it often steals progress from tomorrow. The problem with excuses is not that they appear. The problem is when we believe them without questioning them. For example, imagine someone who says they do not have time to exercise, yet they spend an hour scrolling through social media every evening. The issue may not be a lack of time. The issue may be how time is being used. This can be uncomfortable to admit because excuses often help us avoid responsibility. But responsibility is exactly where growth begins. The moment you stop making excuses, you regain control over your choices. Many excuses are built around waiting. People wait for motivation, perfect conditions, more confidence, or the right opportunity. But life rarely provides perfect circumstances. If you wait until everything feels ideal, you may wait forever. Disciplined people understand this. They do not expect perfect conditions. They learn how to move forward despite imperfect conditions. Another common excuse is believing that small actions do not matter. Someone may think, if I can't do a full workout, there's no point starting. Or, if I can't study for hours, why bother starting? This mindset turns small opportunities into missed opportunities. In reality, small actions are often what keep progress alive. A short workout is better than none. A few pages read today are better than zero. Small effort may not feel impressive, but it keeps momentum moving forward. Progress grows when you focus on what you can do, not on what you cannot do. It's also important to recognize that excuses often become habits. The more frequently you justify avoidance, the easier it becomes to repeat the pattern. Over time, the brain learns to choose comfort automatically. Breaking this cycle requires awareness. When an excuse appears, pause and ask yourself, is this a real obstacle or is it a reason to avoid discomfort? That simple question can reveal a lot. The goal is not to become harsh or unrealistic with yourself. Some challenges are genuine and deserve attention, but many limitations are smaller than they first appear. The most disciplined people are not those who never face excuses. They are the ones who stop allowing excuses to make decisions for them. Because every time you choose action over justification, you strengthen your ability to follow through. And over time, those decisions create something powerful, a mindset that focuses less on reasons why you can't and more on ways that you can.
Managing distractions. One of the greatest challenges to discipline today is not a lack of ambition or intelligence, it is distraction. Never before have so many things competed for our attention at the same time. A single notification can interrupt a task. A quick check of social media can turn into 30 minutes of scrolling. A simple moment of boredom can lead to endless digital distractions. As a result, many people struggle to stay focused, not because they don't want success, but because their attention is constantly being pulled in different directions. Every distraction may seem small, but together they can steal hours from your day. The problem with distractions is not only the time they consume, they also break your concentration. Every time your focus shifts, your brain needs time to return to the task. This constant switching reduces productivity and makes important work feel harder than it actually is. Imagine trying to fill a bucket with water while someone keeps poking holes in the bottom. No matter how much effort you put in, progress becomes slower. That is what distractions do to focus. Many people believe they need stronger willpower to overcome distractions. While willpower helps, it is often not the best solution. A smarter approach is to reduce temptation before it becomes a problem. Discipline becomes easier when distractions become harder to reach. For example, if your phone constantly interrupts your work, placing it in another room may be more effective than repeatedly fighting the urge to check it. If social media distracts you, setting specific times for usage can help create boundaries. The goal is not to eliminate technology completely. The goal is to use it intentionally instead of allowing it to control your attention. Another important distraction is mental distraction. Sometimes your environment is quiet, but your mind is not. Worries, unfinished tasks, stress, and random thoughts can pull your attention away from what matters.
One effective solution is writing things down. Keeping a task list or journal can help clear mental clutter and free up attention for the work in front of you. A focused mind performs better than a busy mind. Creating a focused environment also makes a big difference. A clean workspace, fewer interruptions, and dedicated work periods send a signal to your brain that it is time to concentrate. Many highly disciplined people do not rely on motivation to stay focused. Instead, they build environments that support focus naturally. This is why discipline is often less about self-control and more about design. If distractions surround you all day, staying focused becomes difficult. But if your environment supports your goals, good decisions become easier. The truth is that attention is one of your most valuable resources. Where your attention goes, your time goes. And where your time goes, your future often follows. That is why managing distractions is not just about productivity. It's about protecting your ability to focus on what truly matters. Because every moment you reclaim from distraction is a moment you can invest in building the life you want.
Developing self-control. Self-control is often misunderstood. Many people imagine it as having endless willpower or the ability to resist every temptation without effort. They picture highly disciplined individuals as people who never struggle, never get distracted, and never feel the urge to procrastinate. But that is not reality. Even disciplined people face temptation. They experience distractions, cravings, and moments when they would rather do something easier or more enjoyable. The difference is not that they have no temptations. The difference is that they have learned how to manage them. Self-control is not about controlling every feeling. It is about controlling your response to those feelings. Every day, you face small decisions that test your self-control. Do you continue working or check your phone? Do you follow your plan or choose immediate comfort? Do you keep a promise to yourself or postpone it until later? These moments may seem insignificant, but they shape your habits and future results. Many people think self-control appears suddenly, but it develops gradually through practice. Just like a muscle becomes stronger through repeated training, self-control becomes stronger through repeated use. Every time you choose the difficult but beneficial option, you strengthen your self-control. For example, when you finish an important task before watching entertainment, you practice self-control. When you wake up and follow your routine despite not feeling motivated, you practice self-control. When you resist a distraction and stay focused on your priorities, you practice self-control. These decisions may seem small in the moment, but they build a powerful habit of following through. Another important lesson is that self-control becomes easier when you stop relying on constant decision-making. Many people exhaust themselves by repeatedly asking, "Should I do it or not?" Disciplined people often remove that debate. They create routines and standards that reduce the need for daily negotiation. Instead of deciding whether to exercise, they exercise because it is part of their schedule. Instead of debating whether to study, they study because it is part of their routine. The less you negotiate with yourself, the stronger your discipline becomes. It is also important to understand that self-control is not perfection. There will be times when you make mistakes, lose focus, or give in to temptation. That does not mean you have failed. What matters is how quickly you return to the path. Many people let one mistake become an excuse to quit completely. Strong self-control means recognizing the mistake, learning from it, and continuing forward. Another key factor is understanding the difference between short-term comfort and long-term rewards. The human brain naturally seeks immediate pleasure. Self-control allows you to pause and ask, will this choice help me tomorrow, next month, or next year?
This simple question shifts your focus from temporary feelings to lasting outcomes. In the end, self-control is not about becoming a different person overnight. It's about winning small battles consistently. Each time you choose focus over distraction, effort over excuses, and long-term growth over short-term comfort, you become a little stronger. And over time, those small victories create a disciplined person who can be trusted to follow through no matter how they feel in the moment.
Building a strong identity. Most people focus on changing their actions. They try to exercise more, study harder, wake up earlier, or become more productive. While these goals are important, there is something even more powerful beneath them: identity. Identity is the story you tell yourself about who you are. It influences how you think, how you behave, and what you believe you are capable of achieving. Lasting change becomes easier when your actions match your identity. For example, imagine two people trying to avoid unhealthy food. The first person says, "I'm trying to eat healthier." The second person says, "I am a healthy person." The action may look similar on the surface, but the mindset is different. The first person is attempting a behavior. The second person is reinforcing an identity. An identity tends to be much more powerful than temporary goals. Many people struggle with discipline because they carry limiting identities. They repeatedly tell themselves things like, "I'm lazy, I never finish what I start, I'm not disciplined, I always procrastinate." Over time, these statements become beliefs. And once a belief becomes part of your identity, your brain often looks for evidence to support it. You tend to act in ways that confirm the person you believe you are. This is why building discipline requires more than changing habits. It requires changing the way you see yourself. Instead of saying, "I'm trying to become disciplined," begin thinking, "I am becoming the type of person who follows through." This shift may seem small, but it changes how you approach daily decisions. When you identify as a disciplined person, every action becomes a vote for that identity. Every workout is a vote. Every study session is a vote. Every promise you keep to yourself is a vote. You do not become disciplined because of one big achievement. You become disciplined because of many small actions that repeatedly reinforce the same identity. Every action is evidence of the person you are becoming. Another important truth is that identity grows through proof, not wishful thinking. You cannot simply repeat positive statements and expect instant transformation. Your confidence grows when you collect evidence through action. The more often you keep your commitments, the more believable your new identity becomes. That is why small wins so much matter. Each completed action strengthens the story that says, "I am someone who takes responsibility. I am someone who follows through." Over time, this identity becomes stronger than the old one. Eventually, discipline stops feeling like something you force. It starts feeling like something you naturally do, because your behavior is no longer driven only by goals. It is driven by who you believe you are. And when identity and action begin working together, personal growth becomes far more sustainable. You stop chasing discipline as an outside achievement. Instead, you start becoming the disciplined person you were trying to become all along.
Staying consistent during difficult times. It is easy to stay disciplined when everything is going well. When you feel motivated, have plenty of energy, and life is running smoothly, following your goals can seem almost effortless. You stick to your routine, make progress, and feel confident about the future. But sooner or later, difficult times arrive. Stress increases. Unexpected problems appear. Your schedule becomes busy. Motivation drops. Energy feels low. This is where discipline is truly tested. Anyone can perform well when conditions are perfect. Growth happens when conditions are not. Many people mistakenly believe consistency means performing at their best every day. As soon as they miss a workout, skip a study session, or fall behind on a goal, they feel like they have failed. Because of this mindset, one bad day often becomes a bad week, and a bad week can become a complete loss of momentum. The problem is not the mistake itself. The problem is allowing a temporary setback to become a permanent excuse. Strong discipline is not about never falling off track. It is about returning to the path quickly when you do. Consistency is not perfection. Consistency is the habit of coming back. Think about a long journey. If you take one wrong turn, you do not abandon the entire trip. You simply correct your direction and continue moving forward. Personal growth works the same way. There will be days when you are tired. There will be moments when life becomes overwhelming. There will be times when your performance is lower than usual. What matters is maintaining progress even if the pace becomes slower. During difficult periods, it is often helpful to lower the size of the effort rather than stop completely. If you cannot exercise for an hour, exercise for 10 minutes. If you cannot study for 3 hours, study for 20 minutes. If you cannot complete everything, complete something. Small actions keep momentum alive during difficult times. This approach protects your habits. It keeps your identity intact and reminds you that progress is still possible, even under challenging circumstances. Another important lesson is learning to expect obstacles instead of being surprised by them. Many people create plans as if life will always be predictable. Then, when difficulties appear, they feel discouraged. Disciplined people understand that setbacks are part of the process. They plan with flexibility. They know that challenges are not signs that they should quit. They are opportunities to practice resilience. It is also important to be patient with yourself. Difficult times can create frustration and self-criticism, but constantly attacking yourself rarely improves performance. Instead, focus on responsibility without harsh judgment. Acknowledge the challenge, learn from it, then move forward. In the end, your success is not determined by how perfect your journey is. It is determined by how often you continue after setbacks. Because the people who achieve long-term results are not always the most talented or the most motivated. They are often the ones who refuse to give up when life becomes difficult. And that ability to keep moving forward even during hard times is one of the strongest forms of discipline you can develop.
Designing a disciplined life. Many people think discipline is something they must force themselves to have every single day. They imagine a constant battle between what they want to do and what they should do. Every decision feels like a test of willpower, and every productive action requires a struggle. But truly disciplined people often approach life differently. Instead of depending on endless self-control, they design their lives in a way that makes good decisions easier and bad decisions harder. The strongest discipline is often built through smart design, not constant struggle. Think about it this way. If your phone is always next to you, distractions become easy. If unhealthy food is always available, unhealthy choices become easy. If your workspace is messy and unorganized, focusing becomes harder. Your environment quietly influences your behavior every day. This means that discipline is not only about controlling yourself, it is also about controlling the systems around you. A disciplined life is built intentionally.
People who consistently achieve their goals often create routines that reduce decision fatigue. They know when they will work, when they will exercise, when they will rest, and how they will spend their time. Because fewer unnecessary decisions mean more energy for important ones. Every system you build today reduces effort tomorrow. Another important part of designing a disciplined life is having clear priorities. Many people feel busy all day but make little meaningful progress. Why? Because they spend their time reacting instead of acting intentionally. They answer every notification, chase every distraction, and handle every urgent request without asking whether it truly matters. Disciplined people focus on what is important, not just what is immediate. They understand that attention is a limited resource. Where attention goes, progress follows. This is why they protect their time carefully and avoid filling every moment with distractions. A disciplined life also includes balance. Many people think discipline means working non-stop, but constant pressure often leads to burnout. Real discipline includes rest, recovery, and self-care. A person who never rests eventually loses energy, focus, and motivation. A person who balances effort with recovery can maintain progress for years. Sustainable discipline is stronger than short bursts of extreme effort. Another key principle is planning ahead. When you decide in advance how you will spend your time, you reduce the chances of making impulsive decisions later. Simple habits such as creating a daily schedule, setting priorities, or preparing for tomorrow before going to bed can dramatically improve consistency. These small systems remove uncertainty and create direction. Over time, they become part of your lifestyle. And that is the ultimate goal. Not to force yourself to be disciplined for a few days, not to rely on motivation whenever it appears, but to create a life where productive behaviors happen naturally because your environment, routines, and systems support them. Because discipline is not just a habit, it is a way of designing your daily life so that success becomes the natural result of the choices you make again and again. And when your life is designed with intention, discipline stops feeling like a burden and starts becoming part of who you are. Conclusion: becoming the person you want to be. At the beginning of this journey, we explored a powerful idea. Laziness is often not the real problem. What many people call laziness is usually a combination of fear, distraction, poor habits, lack of clarity, low energy, or systems that make success difficult. Once you understand this, something important happens. You stop seeing yourself as the problem. Instead, you begin looking at the behaviors, habits, and choices that can be improved. Personal growth begins when you stop labeling yourself and start changing your actions. The journey from lazy to disciplined is not about becoming a completely different person overnight. It is not about waking up tomorrow with unlimited motivation, perfect focus, and flawless habits. Real change rarely happens that way. Instead, transformation happens gradually. It happens through small decisions repeated consistently over time. Every time you choose to start when you feel like waiting, you grow stronger. Every time you resist a distraction, you grow stronger. Every time you keep a promise to yourself, even a small one, you grow stronger. These moments may seem insignificant on their own, but together they create a powerful shift. The person you become is shaped by the choices you repeat most often. One of the most important lessons is that discipline is not something you find, it is something you build. You build it when you take action despite fear. You build it when motivation disappears, but you continue anyway. You build it when life becomes difficult and you refuse to quit. And with every step forward, you begin creating evidence that supports a new identity. You stop thinking, "I wish I were more disciplined," and you start realizing, "I am becoming a disciplined person." This shift is life-changing because identity influences behavior. When you believe you are someone who follows through, your actions begin aligning with that belief. Of course, there will still be setbacks. There will be days when you procrastinate, lose focus, or fall short of your expectations. That is normal. The goal is not perfection. The goal is progress. A setback does not define you. Your response to the setback does. The most successful people are not those who never fail. They are often the ones who recover quickly, learn from mistakes, and continue moving forward. That is why consistency matters more than intensity. Small efforts repeated for months and years will always outperform short bursts of extreme effort, followed by long periods of inactivity. As you move forward, remember this. You do not need to change your entire life today. You only need to take the next step. Read the next page, complete the next task, make the next good decision, then repeat. Because the future version of you is not created by one dramatic moment. It is created by hundreds of ordinary choices made with intention. And if you continue choosing growth over excuses, action over avoidance, and discipline over comfort, you will eventually become the person you once imagined becoming. Not because of luck, not because of talent, but because you decided, day after day, to keep moving forward.